welcome into KELOLAND SportsZone All Access here at the KELOLAND Plus desk. I'm Grant Sweeter, joined by Kelsey Dennehy on this Thursday, February the 19th, continuing all the busy coverage that we've been a part of, but specifically Summit League, big part of our show today. And rightfully so, Kelsey, we are officially less than 2 weeks away from the start of the Summit League tournament and March Madness itself.
It's starting to, it already was creeping up. Now it's right around the corner. I feel like we're going to blink and it is going to be here and it's going to be fun and busy and exciting and all the things. So getting ready as much as we're trying to get you guys ready for it.
No doubt. Let's talk about what we saw on Wednesday night, the rivalry game going on up in Brookings, and it went the way of the NDSU men, who take the win over SDSU. It was a good game, 3-point game at halftime. They're Bison able to add on just a little bit more and on their way to an 8-point win, maybe a little closer than some had expected. Matthew Moore's, Damon Wilkinson were strong with 18 points each for the Jackrabbits. NDSU led by Damari Wheeler-Thomas, and that guy right there, Noah Feddersen. They went for 23 and 19 respectively as the Bison continue their strong season in the Summit League.
Yeah, a fun game, a competitive game. I think we weren't necessarily sure if that was going to be the case ahead of tip-off. Shout out to Ian Sachs. He predicted the halftime discrepancy on the money. He said he was confident it was going to be a 3-point game at half, and that it was. But it's the Bison, and we've seen them do this time and time again. Be able to keep a team just far enough away that they can never really creep back.
Yeah, give some credit to them. After the game, I would say a little frustration. I think there are some things that certainly SDSU will take away from the loss, but they're a little frustrated. They felt like they did have a chance to beat the number one team in the conference, but just came up short.
Proud of our guys' effort and obviously ability to just kind of hang in there. We just weren't able to ever get over the hump, especially in the second half. I thought we did some good things in the first half. Thought we passed the ball extremely well, 21 assists on 25 made field goals. We just came up short in some key moments, especially, like I said, in the second half. They lived at the free throw line and knocked them in, and we probably didn't get there quite enough.
Well, free throws, maybe a big factor in it. But, at the end of the day, just missed a few too many shots for SDSU. And early on, they had a lot of 3-point looks in the first few minutes. They just couldn't knock one down. And then finally they started to hit a couple. Luke Hurdle actually got some valuable minutes off the bench with the injury to Bubba Alvarez. And Luke hit a couple threes. And then they built a little bit of a lead. But a big run to end the first half for NDSU was a main reason that the Bison were able to go on and have a halftime lead and carry that momentum, really where they kind of controlled the whole second half and just didn't let SDSU ever tie it or get the lead, which is kind of key sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brian Peterson kind of encapsulated what the Jackrabbits season has looked like so far, just struggling to get over the hump, whether that be making important buckets or getting back quickly in transition to stop a team from going on a run that ends up changing the game. They just haven't been able to get over that hump to find enough of the answer to come out with some of these bigger wins.
Well, we'll see how SDSU responds. They have a busy week, and it continues with another good team. They will host North Dakota at 2 o'clock on Saturday, the third-place team in the conference, as the Jackrabbits try to climb out of that 7th spot. They're in a tough spot right now. We'll see if they can try to get back into that log jam in the middle ahead of them when they play Saturday against North Dakota. And maybe the biggest thing, Kelsey, trying to build some momentum entering the playoffs is big for them. A team that's really building some momentum right now, they had that USD loss, and then they have just been on fire since. That's the SDSU women, as they have won a few in a row here now, and will be on the road at Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is kind of the middle tier. I mean, you have number one NDSU, then you have the South Dakotas that are right next to each other. Then you have Oral Roberts and St. Thomas, and there's certainly a tier for each of those groups. And SDSU being a tier ahead of them, they really shot it lights out last time they played the Golden Eagles, and they'll hope to have that sort of success again. They've really been rolling on the offensive side of the ball lately.
Certainly. In every loss that the Jackrabbits have faced this season, we have seen them bounce back 10 times stronger in the games that follow. And now it's just about really making sure that ends in a consecutive slate of games towards the end of the season, because another loss, I mean, we talk about playing NDSU, we talk about playing USD on the back end of the season and how difficult those matchups are going to be. SDSU needs to win one of those to help continue and carry the momentum that they've been able to garner these past couple of games into postseason play.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, they are playing their best basketball over the last couple of games, and that's what Aaron Johnston wanted. He had to find some consistency in this team to build that, that right type of basketball that he wants to see headed into the playoffs, and he's done it so far. But we're going to really see. Today they have Oral Roberts. Saturday they have Denver. Okay, those are two teams a little bit lower in the standings. They should win. Then next week we're really going to know who they are. They got NDSU on the road Wednesday and then hosting USD on Saturday. So the 1 and 2 teams in the Summit League Conference respectively. We'll see who the Jackrabbits really are entering the playoffs after next week. Let's talk about the USD women. They're second place in the conference. They're playing some good basketball. Have been for pretty much the entire season. They had a slow start in conference play, really good over their last several games in conference play. And tonight they will welcome Omaha into Vermilion, a struggling Omaha team, as the Coyotes look to continue to build on what they've done the last few games.
The Coyotes have looked good down this last stretch of games. It seems like they've really found a better balance in terms of just being able to use more of their women across the floor. We've seen Angelina Robles really step up as of late. Molly Joyce has been a steady presence for the Coyotes this year. She's still playing great. We've seen Josie Hill come in and make some great plays. Elise Terubiadis come in and make some great plays. And I think that balance is really what has been key for them so far.
It has been. And at times, this team can go white hot and not miss a bucket, but at times they go cold too. That's something Carrie Amy wants to see an improvement on.
Just continuing to refine our offense and try to find ways to continue to make it versatile and continue to make it, difficult to defend. And most teams continue to get better and better on the defensive end throughout the course of the season. And so your offense got to keep improving as well.
Yeah, they want the offense to keep improving, and at times they are lights out, and you're like, wow, how do they ever lose? And then at times they're not there, right? We go back to the Kansas City game last week. They scored 2 points in the first quarter, and that's just unheard of for a team with this talent. So I think that Coach Amy knows it's there. She's going to keep working on it. They'll see how they can continue that success. Big game Saturday when the Coyotes welcome NDSU into Vermilion. Might not be a warm welcome. It's a big game. Top 2 teams in the conference set to square off on Saturday. Talk about the USD men as well. They are headed to elevation, probably already there, with their game being just a few hours away.
I hope so.
I would sure think so. They're taking on Denver tonight in the Mile High City, and a chance for USD to get a big win in that log jam of the Summit League standings. There are 3 teams in the Summit League that are right in the middle that are all just duking it out right now. It really is anybody's battle to who gets what, but in that jam is Omaha, USD, and Denver, and this is why it'd be a huge win for the Coyotes. Try to stay in the top part of that log jam.
Denver is a hard team to play at home. We've seen them have success throughout the season, playing teams like NDSU, North Dakota, and being able to come out with wins. The elevation definitely is a factor. I am sure it is a little bit more intense than maybe people realize right away, but right. I don't think that's going to sway a game. It's a matter of sticking to the preparation that the Coyotes are confident and comfortable in, and playing their game on the road. We've seen them play really well at home. On the road has been a little bit of a different story. And so regardless of how high in the mountains you are in the United States, you're just wanting to play the basketball that you know you can.
Yeah, here's what Eric Peterson told us this week.
When you're supposed to play in so many close games, or they're expected to be close games, you got to be great with the special teams, because I firmly believe that wins and loses games for you. So I would say, 3 or 4 things, mostly about us, not so much about the other team.
There you go. Things that he's focusing on for them. And going back to what Kelsey said, Denver's just good at home. They're 7-5 at home this year. USD's just not good on the road. They're 3-8. And so, that's going to be the big key. Yes, the elevation is a factor, but some of them have played there before, right? If you've been with the USD team, you've played there before. It's not the first time to Denver. It is the last time to Denver. That's something we really haven't talked about. Denver leaving the Summit League at the end of this season.
I keep forgetting that.
It kind of went under the radar. Happened last summer. We're like, oh, okay, whatever.
And I remember when it came out, but I feel like it's totally been swept under the rug since then.
It has.
It was a big thing, and then all of a sudden it was like, all right, carry on, everyone. Let's play, and that's what they've done.
I don't think that Denver leaving is like the craziest thing. But how does the Summit League try to bounce back? They were at 10 teams just a couple of years ago. Now they've had a couple teams leave, and now they're down to 8 again. You don't like that. So I'd be intrigued to see. You know that they're trying to get back up to 9, 10, as many teams as you can comfortably. A Summit League has a really good standard, I feel like, for, bringing in quality teams with multiple programs, that don't have much issues. And so they have that right now. See how they continue to grow. I'm intrigued for that. But either way, USD, Denver, big game tonight, separated by a half game in the standings. If USD wins, they have a game and a half lead. If they lose, they're now behind Denver in the standings and fall to 6th. And I think you want to stay in that 4-5 and avoid having to play one of the top 3 teams. Well, Kelsey brought us a good story last night about the benefits of being a multi-sport athlete. We'll have that story when we come back to SportsZone All Access. Welcome back. Well, we had a great conversation about the Summit League. Took the majority of our show today, but we've got a couple of other interesting things that we're talking about, and that includes Kelsey's story on multi-sport athletes. Now, the UCLA has a study that the average Division I athlete grew up playing 2 to 3 sports, and that was 88%, if I remember right.
It was 88%.
So the vast majority grew up playing at least 2 or 3 sports. I know I was a multi-sport athlete as in my age, so was Kelsey. Yep. And they say there is a lot of
Division I.
No, not. That's a very good clarifying point. But they say there's a lot of health benefits to training because each sport you train differently, so your body reacts positively because you're training different muscles, different things like that. Kelsey did a great story, talked with some Sanford strength and conditioning and a local athlete to tell us just exactly why it's important to be a multi-sport athlete.
Nolan Pudwell is committed to play football for Northern State in 2026. The Brandon Valley senior ultimately chose football, but he grew up playing on more than just the gridiron.
I grew up playing football, baseball, and basketball. Stayed pretty busy playing all the sports, but it was good for me. Kind of made me figure out which sport I love the most too. See which one I want to continue playing.
Doug Walls is a strength and conditioning coach for Sanford Sports. Walls sees and trains nearly 200 high school and college athletes per week, including Pudwell, and has seen more than one benefit both on the field.
You're exposing your body to a ton of different movement patterns, which can help decrease that overwork injury and things like that.
And in life.
They're a little bit more adaptable to that, or they pick up on things a little quicker, whether it's a different jump or a different movement pattern. They sometimes will pick up a little bit quicker than normal.
Obviously, make a lot of friends in all the sports, but it made it easier in all the classes, and you have a bunch of friends to talk to. It's not just you walking around school and not being able to talk to anyone. My best friends are always the kids I played sports with in the past.
The healthy habits developed, whether through multiple sports or additional functional training, help set young athletes up for success when their playing days are done.
Through their sport and through what they do here, they have the tools that they need in their toolbox to make their own plan if they need it in the future.
Well, good stuff there from Kelsey. And yeah, there's a lot of strength benefits. I mean, watching some of his workouts, those look interesting. But, that's what doing multi-sports do, because for each sport, you're doing something different. And I think Nolan is probably shifting his attention now to maybe football training, considering that's where he's going to go play for Northern State. And he's a talented kid. I think the Wolves got a good one. But you saw, those were highlights of him, because those were highlights of him playing multiple different sports. And when you train differently for baseball than football, and you're working a lot of skills, and that's what sounded like what Doug agreed with in that. It's just really good for you.
Not only is it helpful in terms of preventing injury, just because you're working different muscle groups, you're activating different parts of your body. It keeps you in shape for longer, so the transition period between sports is a lot easier. Nolan confirmed that to me, that throughout his life he enjoyed those transitions, because it also brought back his excitement and love for playing different parts of the game. And that's the other side of it as well, is the mental component to just not burning out and not being so exhausted of your sport that not only will it harm you physically, it can be mentally challenging as well, when all you're doing is focusing your time on one thing at such a young age. So it was really interesting to hear both of their perspectives, and then do some research, some scientific research on my own, just to see kind of how that correlated. And they lined up pretty close together. So it's interesting, and definitely food for thought for parents as their children start to play sports or just start to participate in different activities. Obviously, we cover sports. That's the primary focus. But doing multiple activities, if you're able, is always a positive thing as well. And I think that can be included there.
Well, and from our perspective, you get these really great athletes who make this really good volleyball team, we'll say. And then they focus on volleyball. They don't play basketball. And now the basketball teams, so from my perspective, covering the media, I'd love to see all the great athletes play all the sports and hear their name all throughout the year. Growing up in a small town, that's the way it was.
Right.
If you played football, you played basketball and baseball, and that you knew that name. And so, but from us, we just want to see those athletes play, right? We want to see them all the time.
We know they're capable
in multiple
and good.
sports.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, best of luck to Nolan. It was nice for him to join us. And, good story there. Hopefully continue to see more high school athletes play more than one sport. That's always fun to hear names and go, oh, he was really good at football too. Now he's good at baseball. That's kind of the fun thing that we like to connect the dots here. Well, we're going to talk about the Augustana hockey team. They got a huge weekend series coming up. We'll have that next. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access. The Augustana hockey team has their, it's hard to believe, final 2 games of the regular season. It's a ranked battle. Number 15, St. Thomas. On the road is where the Vikings have to go up to St. Paul. Friday night and Saturday night, both at 7:07. They're big games too, Kelsey.
They're really big games. This is going to determine whether Augustana hosts the first round of the CCHA playoffs, which, if anybody has been watching Augustana hockey this season, they will know that the Vikings play really well in Midco Arena. And so this would be a huge advantage for them to be able to earn that. Now, they tied St. Thomas a couple of months ago in November.
Yep.
And it was a really great hockey game. So definitely potential for the Vikings to find a win in St. Paul. But again, on the road, the stakes are a little bit higher. This is the close of their regular season, so a lot more on the line for this one than in games past.
Well, let's go back to their last game. They had a big player step up for them.
They did. Nase Langus came away with 3 assists in Saturday night's senior night win, a 4-2 victory for Augustana, their final home game of the regular season. And Nase is a player who he played for the Slovenian national team over the summer. He played against guys like Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon and got to learn from really elite NHL players. The expectations were high for him coming in this year. And when we spoke with head coach Garrett Raboyne earlier this week, he said it took him a little bit to kind of get settled. And sometimes you're battling with yourself more than you're battling with anybody else. And that seemed to be the case for Nase. He only had 6 points across 23 of the games prior to Saturday night's win. And he was able to be a really big part in that final home victory, especially considering Captain Hunter Bischoff being out with a season-ending injury. That was the first series that they played without him on the ice. And so to see Nase step up like that was really reassuring for head coach Garrett Raboin and a good sign as they head into postseason play.
He finally just played. And that's Nase. That is the Nase that you guys as fans and as spectators of Augustana hockey, that's the player you're going to see more and more of as we move forward.
Well, that's what they hope for because they got a big one. Pretty much, it's as simple. If they sweep St. Thomas, they are going to host and have a chance, an outside chance, but a chance at the 1 seed in the playoffs. If they get 3 to 5, one win, or 1 win and a tie, something like that, they'll probably still have a good chance. If they get swept, they probably won't be on home ice. It's that simple.
They will not be on home ice.
So, okay, you can't say will not, but probably won't, right? There's still, the door is still there for Bowling Green or Minnesota State to not win the games that they need to win to catch Augustana. So we cannot say will not if they don't win because you never know if the other teams don't win. But let's put the percentage at like 5%, if they don't win. So, yeah, if they don't win. If they win both games, the 100% that they will, 98%. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
there's a lot of external factors that are coming into play in terms of the home ice situation for this playoff.
There's a lot of big games left. And most of the teams around Augustana have another series to play, which is what throws it off just a little bit. Well, we'll wrap up today's show when we come back. Welcome back to KELOLAND SportsZone All Access. Some exciting news not happened too long ago. The USA women's hockey team winning gold 2-1 in overtime. Fantastic win. Check out the highlight Twitter, wherever you find it. It is a pretty goal. Basically, to wrap up, we got a lot of things coming up tonight. Girls basketball, college basketball, region wrestling for girls, all that coming up and more. Well, thanks for joining us on SportsZone All Access. See you back here on Friday.
Bye, guys.